Welcome to Mastering Machines, where we discover tomorrow's reality.
I came across a really interesting article while I was doing my daily AI blog readings, and it was this article here. It's called The Subprime AI Crisis by Edward Zitron, and it was really illuminating to me as far as the cost and how the AI world is funding all of these efforts, and whether or not are we in some type of looming crisis in regards to the AI world and how it's being funded. And I think that he answers a lot of these questions here in this article. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not an AI doomer, but the facts are the facts. And he provides some really interesting facts in regards to how generative AI and just the AI world in general is being funded, especially with these huge foundational models. So let's go back to November 30th, 2022. This is when OpenAI releases ChatGPT, and the world goes wild and everybody's amazed by this new technology. Suddenly, everyone from tech CEOs to even the person in your neighborhood or your next door neighbor is talking about artificial intelligence. Fast forward to today, and OpenAI is raising funds at a staggering $150 billion valuation. But here's the kicker. The same company is on track to lose $5 billion in 2024. Welcome to the world of generative AI, where the numbers are big, the promises are bigger, and then the profit, well, right now, there's been little of that to be seen. Let's start with some really sobering and cold facts. Since November 2022, big tech has poured over $150 billion into AI infrastructure and startups. That's more than the GDP of the entire country of Hungary. OpenAI alone has raised $13 billion, making it one of the most well-funded startup companies in history. But there's an interesting thing in regards to OpenAI. They're not the typical tech company structure. It started as a nonprofit with a for-profit arm. That's one of the reasons why Elon Musk actually sued OpenAI, is because they kind of made these changes from a nonprofit entity to more of a for-profit structure. And a lot of people have criticized them because they think that this actually goes against the actual name of OpenAI and kind of making it more of a closed AI and more of a for-profit structure. In this OpenAI structure, investors don't get traditional equity. Instead, they receive what's called profit participation units, or what's better known in a lot of articles called PPUs. These promise a slice of the company's profits if it ever makes any. And there's a catch. Profits are capped at 100 times the original investment. Now, you might be thinking like, hey, 100 times my investment sounds great. It sounds like a great return. But remember, 100 times zero is still zero. And right now, zero is exactly how much profit OpenAI is making currently. Let's break down the cost of OpenAI currently. OpenAI is paying Microsoft an estimated $4 billion in 2024 just to power ChatGPT and its underlying models. And that's with a discounted rate of $1.30 per GPU hour compared to $3.40 to $4 that other customers pay. Without this discount, OpenAI would be burning closer to $6 billion a year on server costs alone. Then add the staffing costs associated with OpenAI, which is around $1.5 billion a year, and then the training costs of $3 billion for the year, and you start to see why even a company valued at the steep $150 billion valuation might be sweating or kind of worried about where their business model is going. But surely they're making money to offset this, right? I mean, OpenAI is huge, one of the biggest corporations in the world currently. Well, the New York Times reported that OpenAI's annual revenues have now topped at $2 billion. And that's an insane amount of money and would be great for any other tech company. But when you're spending over $8 billion a year, it doesn't take a mathematician to realize that these numbers don't add up. Now, let's kind of shift gears from OpenAI to Microsoft, OpenAI's biggest backer and sugar daddy. CEO Satya Nadella has set an ambitious goal, and that goal is to hit $500 billion in revenue by 2030. That isn't just a random number. It was revealed in a memo included in a public hearing over Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. The goal might explain why Microsoft is charging a whopping $30 per user per month for its AI-powered Copilot featured in Microsoft 365. And Microsoft Copilot was one of the bigger AI products of the last couple of years that really touched a more commercial market, being that, Microsoft is a blue chip company. But there's a kicker to this. The adoption rates for these AI features, particularly in Copilot, are abysmal. Between 0.1% and 1% of Microsoft's 440 million users are willing to pay for these actual AI features. One firm testing the AI features is quoted as saying that most people don't find it that valuable right now. I don't think this reflects AI tools as a whole. I think it's more specifically to the percentages to Microsoft's Copilot feature and product, because if anybody has played with any of these AI tools, especially the more established ones, they'll let you know that these things are really useful and they have a lot of utility, especially for cutting down on work and, kind of ramping up productivity. But the scale of these costs is just staggering. And one of the things that they mentioned in the article is that the Anthropic CEO, Dario Amodei, predicted that future models may cost $100 billion to train. And I don't know if this is sustainable, because consumers, especially AI developers and people in the AI world, expect new models now every year. And I don't know if that price and that timeline is just sustainable. Even look at a company like Nvidia that has done amazing and has great tech underlying it. The markets were very apprehensive and skeptical about what they did in their boom, and this led to an historic $279 billion drop in Nvidia's market cap in a single day. It has bounced back a little bit, but I kind of find it weird that this was one of the biggest kind of drop-offs in US markets history. And then also the fact that the total value lost in that day was the equivalent of nearly 5 Lehman Brothers at its peak value. I really hope that isn't a foreshadowing or an omen of what will happen in the AI world. Edward Zentron, the writer of this article, came up with the term and the name of the article as subprime AI crisis. And it's truly that. And the reason why he calls it this is because companies across the tech industry have integrated AI, but at artificially low prices, subsidized by big tech's deep pockets. But what happens when this artificially low pricing disappears or erodes? OpenAI is already in talks with investors from the United Arab Emirates, a move that really screams desperation. As one industry insider put it, nobody raises from the UAE or Saudis because they want to. They're even trying to raise $5 billion in debt from banks in the form of a revolving credit facility, which typically comes with really high interest rates. Also, let's not forget Sam Altman's really lofty, and some would say pipe dream goal of having $7 trillion funded for a plan that would cover everything based around AI. So like the chip factories, electricity associated with it, and the actual equipment. Many people, and myself included, thought that this was completely ridiculous and a absolute pipe dream. But hopefully this is not the amount of money that's actually needed to create a lofty AI infrastructure that is actually sustainable. But the thing that is scary is that the potential fallout of all of this funding, if it's not actually sustained and put into actual products and the profits actually meet the costs, is going to be staggering. We're not just talking about a few tech giants taking a hit. We're looking at a cascade effect of the entire industry, and would affect the entire tech ecosystem. Startups that have built their entire business models around cheap AI could find themselves priced out of existence overnight. And we can't even talk about the actual open source community, which really erodes the moat of a lot of the AI products as well. And I might make another video regarding that. And with the risk of these companies comes the human fallout. And that means real people stand to lose their livelihoods. There are already whispers of impending layoff as companies scramble to fund their AI ambitions. One Microsoft employee on the anonymous platform Blind wrote, "AI is eating up pay raises and things will not get better." But the truly scary part is that the tech giants are too committed to back out now. And as one insider put it, these companies are deeply committed to the idea that AI is the future, and their cultures are so thoroughly disconnected from the creation of software that solves the problems that real people face that they'll burn the entire company to the ground. In the article, they talk about an email that was shared by a source earlier this year by a member of Microsoft's senior leadership team, and he requested reducing power requirements from multiple areas within the company as a means of freeing up power for GPUs. They even considered moving other services compute to other countries just to free up capacity for AI. And I thought these two eventualities that were proposed in the article are really good. One being big tech realizes that they've gotten in too deep, and out of deep fear of pissing off Wall Street, chooses to reduce capital expenditures related to AI. And then number two, big tech, desperate to find a new growth pig, decides instead to cut costs to sustain their ruinous operations, laying off workers and reallocating capital from other operations as a means of sustaining the generative AI death march. Now, I don't know if it's a death march. I think that's kind of dramatic, but I think that this is what we're seeing currently in the market when it comes to the tech ecosystem. And we see a lot of companies laying people off, and we see a lot of people breaking down their operations using AI and then kind of leaving their workers to pick up the pieces. And while I don't agree with everything the article says, especially generative AI kind of topping off, I think that generative AI models have consistently gotten better over the last even just year. The cost of these better AI models is going to go up significantly. And we're seeing that even in the Strawberry O1 model that was put out by OpenAI, which has great reasoning capabilities, but the cost went up significantly. I think it was something like 50x for that particular model. So as we go higher and higher up Moore's law, as these models keep on getting better, we're going to experience significantly higher pricing for this compute. And I don't know if the real world pricing matches up with the actual software goals of these AI models and if they are actually aligned at the right time. And I'll leave you with this quote from the article. "I believe that artificial intelligence boom, which would be better described as a generative AI boom, is unsustainable and will ultimately collapse. I also fear that said collapse could be ruinous to big tech, deeply damaging to the startup ecosystem, and will further sour public support for the tech industry." Remember, this has been Mastering Machines. Discover tomorrow's reality.